Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa ta'ala barakatuh. It's me, son of Malcolm, once again hitting you brothers and sisters off with another power-packed, short, little brief touch on relevant topics, the lightning rods, what's going on, what's happening, what needs to be chopped up, happening right here, right now, in real time. And what we have, obviously, is the riots, not the riots, but the protests, shall we say, have been hijacked by rioters all over America, all over the world. We've had one today in Hyde Park in London, in which I think it is by the actor Boyega. He did a powerful speech about black men must stand up and defend the community, defend their black women, and support them. So I'm here in the studio with my beautiful brother Hajj Ali. Brothers, introduce yourself. Let's do what we got to do, brother.
Yeah, you know what it is. You know what it is. Hajj Ali in the house, and we want to chop it up for a few. So, bro, you got a nice little segment to play from a Muslimah, non-black Muslimah who has an analysis on the current situation, the current vibration of resistance and revolution.
Alhamdulillah. Well, as I said, the profile picture you can see is a little picture of her, and I'm going to play her because I think she's relevant, because we did a video earlier before. And on that one, it was a sister who was a black sister in niqab, breaking down about what black people, as we as black Muslims, don't want Asians to take our voice and don't want you stepping in and using Prophet Malcolm X to sort of like lose our voice. And we're on a Black Lives Matter. It's about black people now, and it's about our struggle. But we're coming for you as well as racist, European institutional structural racism. So I'm going to play the sister who is an Asian sister, I believe Pakistani or Asian. I'm not too sure. Forgive me if I'm wrong on that. But she's also supporting the fact that black Muslims have a voice and a role, and now they, as Asians, got to dismantle the racism within their communities. So play the tape.
And so I think that's why we're seeing this eruption of conversations, and that's why this conversation is particularly important, because Muslims like to say, racism is not in Islam. Of course racism is not in Islam. Allah is not racist, but we are racist. And there is racism amongst Muslim people. And if we're not talking about that, we should have been talking about this, years ago. This is a conversation that we've come to way too. Black Muslims have been telling us again and again, repeatedly, there is racism, and we face racism. And everybody wants to talk about Bilal and radiallahu anha and Malcolm X, but nobody wants to talk about the fact that we don't treat our black brothers and sisters with respect. That we even always, when the matter of black lives comes up, we want to talk about other oppression. And we suddenly care about everything else. We suddenly care about all the other causes in the world, just for the sake of not having to talk about black people's lives. And so that's why this matters, and that's why George Floyd's death has caused such uproar. It's not just about one man. It's about an entire population of people who are degraded by the police, by the government, by the media, and all of us individuals, even if we...
There's the sister there for you. Alhamdulillah, so I don't know, the quality wasn't too good, it wasn't too loud, but did you manage to pick up what she was saying?
Oh yeah. She named it, brother, and she nailed it. Powerful sister, and very relevant in what she was saying, that the discussion related to anti-black racism should have been happening in the Muslim community years ago. So there's no point in jumping on the bandwagon now and talking about Islam's opinion or perspective on what racism is, because that's one thing, is giving the evidence of what Islam says, but how do we implement that in the Muslim community, in the current Muslim ummah? That's more important, and that's the conversation that we should have been having.
I totally agree with you. I think at the end of the day, she nailed the elephant in the room, and I think again, this is a revolution now. Yeah, this is just like the Boston Tea Party. Or it's like Luther pinning his protest on the church door, you know what I mean? This is going to start a snowball. This is like the death of Emmett Till or Medgar Evers, or the civil rights marches. It's something that now it's going to change the very fabric. Our lives are going to change because of the Chinese flu, and also because of what's happened to George Floyd. And what she said is correct. We've known you. We know for years. Whenever we've spoken for years on this topic about the endemic racism in the Muslim community, about the fact that we've been shut out from all the levers of power and it's been institutional glass ceilings placed on us as brothers and sisters within the community to always feel shame, always feel embarrassed about ourselves, and not see ourselves within anything within Islam. So even the pictures that they draw, they don't show the Prophet's face, but they have his hands painted white, right? They always talk about Bilal.
Technology. That's technology, bro. That's technology.
Technology. So we know Abbas, for example, the Prophet's uncle, Radiallahu anhu, he was captured by the Kuffar and he was bought back by the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. But so it's the same as Bilal was bought off of his indentured, the person that didn't own him because he wasn't a slave. He was working for that person. But the point is, they never mentioned Abbas being a slave and being bought as well, like Abu Bakr bought Bilal, gave money, not bought Bilal, but gave money to the guy that
to release him, to really have him released, for his contract or you'd say the agreement.
Right, but they never mentioned that. So the point is, when we talk about our pain, our suffering, our hurt, our marginalization, our degradation, our degeneration, they mention Palestine to us, or they mention Kashmir to us, and they start putting these little memes online. You see, they show a picture of a guy in Palestine with his knee on his neck by some fascist, racist, Zionist pig, IDF soldier, and then they'll cut to a fascist, racist pig in America, right? But at the same time, they don't tell us that they do the same thing on a spiritual level to us. They have we haven't got a chip on our shoulder. We've got their knees on our neck, brother.
So and you know what? It's all about perspective at the end of the day, because even when we say about what Islam actually is, right, to a large degree, right, this is like kind of our perception of that is a social construct. And I'm going to try and give you an example of what I'm talking about. So I'm in a WhatsApp group with Black Muslims, One brother posts something about knife violence in the Black community and saying, that inviting the brothers and sisters in the group to support, the anti-violent organization that was trying to, bring about like some sort of like decriminalization, or not decriminalization, excuse me, but like, kind of like a social contract amongst the youth and kind of piece it out with the young people and say, let's stop the violence, right? A brother in the WhatsApp group says, when are you gonna start promoting Islamic events? So I was trying to understand what was un-Islamic about, anti-knife crime event in the Black community, or did it need to have an Arabic name? Did it need to be led by a sheikh or somebody with a Urdu or Farsi name? Or was there something inherently un-Islamic about supporting the oppressed and trying to bring around peace? Is that not Islamic enough, brother? That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, because again, this is the idea of like somehow, if we're not speaking about the Prophet ﷺ in this abstract term as this individual, you forget that this was a man of peace, a man of love, but a man that fought wars. That every issue that the Quran mentions, every daily affair that was happening, he was involved in it. So when he first started teaching for the first 13 years, to appeal to the people in Medina and Mecca, he never started saying to you, brother, this is haram, that's halal. He didn't mention the haram or halal. He just said to them, don't you not think that there's injustice in this world? Don't you think we could have a better world? And what do you think as a person you can do to bring that world about? So he appealed to their conscience. So he looked at the injustices.
Wow. Spirituality. High-powered spirituality,
your daughters, this is wrong what these people are doing. You know what I'm saying? He didn't attack the individual. He said when people get drunk, then they're committing these awful acts, like adultery and fornication and getting bastard children and then killing their firstborn children. So he appealed to the society and says, look, they treat this camel better than they treat a woman. Don't you think there's a better world for us? Do you think there's a better way? So he appealed to their sense of morality. So this anti-guns and anti-knife crime, what we're saying is that we're in a community in England. So the death of one youth is the death of all our youth. It doesn't matter if he's black. He's not Muslim. He's a black guy. Black guys do gangs. Black guys are into crime and killing. So let's not care about them because they're black. Without taking into account that in Birmingham and in places like Luton, the number one gang numbers and killers is Asians who are slaughtering each other at industrial levels, worse than the black guys are doing. But they're actually pushing the heroin because it's coming from Afghanistan and Pakistan. We ain't bringing no boats. We ain't got no boats in place to bring all these drugs in and these knives and these bucky guns. We ain't making these guns. They're coming from the drugs are coming from Asia and from Russia. The weapons are coming from. So the point is this projection of creating a projection of black people. Remember the guy that said a year ago in Ramadan, brothers, why are you acting black? Stop being black. You're not black, brothers. The Sahaba wouldn't like these brothers. We're talking about.
Yeah, that was actually retarded, brother. That was actually retarded.
He rightly got condemned for
You're
that.
not black. You know to behave properly. The inference that black people don't behave properly.
Used
It was absolutely disgusting. That's absolutely disgusting.
The caravans. He would take the booty from their caravans. He would do this because obviously he had to make war against the kuffar. So the social consciousness, what's happening in the world, is part of being a Muslim. We can't turn out our blind eye to injustice.
And just to kind of like link this to one of the other conversations we have, that oftentimes Muslims will say that Malcolm X, right, non-black Muslims anyway, we often say Malcolm X, he was in the Nation of Islam, and this was black nationalism, right? And this wasn't really Islam, and this was Farrakhan, and this was Elijah. He went to Hajj and had some sort of epiphany, and then he came back and he believed in the 5 pillars. But Malcolm said, while believing in the 5 pillars, right, and said, but my religion doesn't make me a fool. And I think what the inference was, because he went on to explain, is that he still didn't separate himself from the struggle of the 22 million African-American people at the time, right, that were fighting for their, not civil rights, but their human rights in the United States. Do you know what I mean? So at the same time, as us being Muslims, whether you're Sufi or Sunni or Shia, or you follow the 3 generations, whatever your school of thought, but you follow Islam that is understood in the Muslim world and throughout the Muslim world. If you are of African descent, don't make your religion turn you into a fool, meaning that you don't see the pain, the suffering, and the injustices that your people, your home suffer and experience, and feel alienated and have an inability to work towards a positive change in those communities.
Well said. I think that's absolutely a good point, because many of us come into Islam, and then we come with this Christian mentality. We replace the white Jesus on the wall for a white Muhammad, and then we come in despising our culture. So when the Asians say, "Oh, your cultures, you guys, your culture is about violence and about party and carnival and sex, and your hip hop culture is disgusting," we start saying, "Yeah, it's true. I would have nothing to do with that." So we start speaking in an accent. No disrespect to the sister who did one of the videos that we did recently, but she's a black sister, but then she almost was speaking in an Asian accent. And we do this subconsciously, we start speaking and sounding like them. And then we start burning our. So we forget about the drugs that we came out of. So what happens is we get pulled out of the muck and the mire, but then we leave the rest of our community to drown and die. And then we're hard. We'll say things like, "I love this Asian brother of my own calf and mother." When the Asian guy was about his mother.
Who would say that, man? What kind of insane mindset is that? What insane mindset is that? Do you know what I mean?
Disgusting person would say that. But this is the mentality that a lot of black brothers have. So they fall into this trap, and then they specifically want to get Asian wives or non-black wife, and then when they get rejected, all of a sudden now you see them making videos, and I'm sure you know what I'm talking about.
Oh no, you never.
Officer down, right? Start making videos about how they're whinging about race in the community, but it's not only because you got rejected, is it? Because you got rejected.
Because you know something. Hold on. So I got bro. I've got to jump in on that one. There is a difference between identifying within the Muslim community anti-black racism, which means certain disrespect, which means certain prejudice, which means certain bias, which means certain unconscious bias across the board towards black people. It doesn't just mean me as a black man who wanted to propose to an Asian sister and I was knocked back by a family, and I think it was because of my color of my skin. I think that it goes a little bit deeper than that, if that makes sense.
No, I totally agree with you. And I think this is nothing we need to touch on as well. A, keep Bilal out of your mouth. B, keep Malcolm X out of your mouth.
Yeah? Keep Malcolm X out of your mouth.
Out of your mouth. Because we'll take him out of your mouth, reach him and pull him by your lying tongue and whip him out of your mouth. Stop using his name, yeah? Stop talking about Bilal and stop using Prophet Muhammad to justify your own filthy ways of trying to cover it up. That's what I'm trying to say. Also, another point as well. We ain't looking for your woman. The reality is, majority of Asian women desire a black man to marry. They desire a so-called revert to marry. They're sick and tired of pathetic, racist, toxic ways. But you do everything. I know that. I get so many people discuss this with me. I know so many brothers and so many Asian sisters or non-white black sisters who want to marry black brothers, but they're blocked on every level because of the racism of their parents. So you're right. We got to look at the fact. And for example, and again, when we say Black Lives Matters, yeah, we know Black Lives Matters. We know as an organization the agenda of the leftist agenda of Black Lives Matters. But we're not signaling the organization when we say Black Lives Matters as Muslims. What we're doing, we're signaling the slogan, the statement, which we separate from the actual organization, a leftist organization. I'm not here to be pejorative against it, because we're in the battle, because my enemy is my enemy, my enemy is my friend in this respect. I'm drowning, and as we put the hand, I'm going to be checking the hand that pulls me out. So I'm just saying, you've got to stop this for people, this movement's a Kafa movement, or Sunni mosque. We're not the nation of Islam. We ain't drilling when people are being killed. What's the slogan? The slogan
is they killing and y'all drilling.
Yeah, they're doing the killing and you're doing the drilling. We ain't doing it because some of these other communities. Brothers, please stay away from the protests. It's not an Islamic thing. This is not. But so some wouldn't. They're using the violence that these white neo-Nazi groups are doing. White supremacist groups are going to the protests and organizing to destruction to delegitimize our voice against our protest. But it won't work. It won't work. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is on the side of the oppressed today. He's on the side of the downtrodden. He's on the side of the despised. He's on the side of the rejected and the dejected. And the most despised and rejected people on the planet is the black man and black woman. Whether you go to China, they don't want you even in China. Right? When you go to these Arab countries where they treat you like a slave and call you abd. Even some of these people in the Somali community who are black like me and you still look down on me and you. So we got to deal with this fact. It's never going to go away, and we are not going to stop until it's changed.
Inshallah, inshallah, inshallah. Bro, it's always a pleasure. We're getting it in. Power packed. We promised that, and I think that's what you've delivered. Sensational analysis, bro. And until next time, remember to stay safe, stay cool.
Can I just add that while the world is cleaning up its house and dealing with white supremacy, Muslims now need to clean up their masjids and their communities and tackle this racism, which is live and thriving and being given sustenance and aid in the Muslim community and the Muslim ummah and in the hearts of Muslims who are non-black. So we call today on all the leaders in the Muslim community, all the imams in the Muslim community, all the muftis in the Muslim community, yeah? We call on all the scholars in the Muslim community,
the shuyukh
in the Muslim community, to start tackling these issues in their Zoom Jummas, at other meetings, at weddings, whatever it is, and call it out what it is. And just as we're going to drive it out of white supremacist society and structural racist society in the West, we're going to drive it out in our communities too. And if you're not prepared to work, do the work, sit back and let us do it. But we're not tolerating no more, and we're going to call it out. It's going to be a hot time in the old town tonight.
Okay. On that note, thank you for your time, for your patience, and for your indulgence. Until next time, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.
And for me, son of Malcolm, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa ta'ala wa barakatuh. Stay safe, watch out for the coronavirus, and travel in peace. Assalamu alaikum.